Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Horror Trans. I am Stephanie Bree. I'm a transgender woman who talks about horror movies, and today I'm tackling the Michael Myers Halloween franchise. We're up to part 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, I have to be honest, this is the very first one I ever saw. And the first time I saw it, I saw the producer's cut. I did not see the theatrical cut because I rented this on VHS, and that's the version they had at the video store because our video store was well known for having director's cuts and things of that sort. So I actually saw the producer's cut. So this watch through, I saw the theatrical cut, and it wasn't what I remembered, obviously. And so I was a little taken back. I was a little confused, but I still liked it. So let's go ahead and jump into the recap and give my recommendation. So this movie wraps up what they call the Thorn trilogy, which is kind of confusing. Now, if you go back and watch my Season of the Witch video, you already know that I told you that I'm a pagan in real life. I am an Irish pagan. Not exclusively Irish pagan, but my primary deity is an Irish goddess named Bridget. And so I have a familiarity with the Druids. And so I'm not a fan of the way they use how they demonize the Druids and make them out to be evil, and their whole thing is summoning evil for whatever reason. They don't really give a reason. They just want to summon evil and sacrifice a baby. So I take issue with that. Not because it adds a supernatural element to the Halloween franchise, because we've already had that added previously. But I take issue with it as personally as a pagan. I take issue with it because I have a connection to the historical Druids, and they're nothing like the Druids that are depicted in this movie. So I want to set the record straight. Putting that aside, this is Hollywood. So let's, it's a little harsh on Season of the Witch, but I'm not forgiving that movie because it just is not forgivable. But I was a little less harsh on this one because, like I said, it was previously my first entry into the franchise, and so I had a nostalgia for it, a soft spot for it. So let's go ahead and dig into the recap. Michael survived the end of part 5, and he's now chasing an older Jamie who has had a baby, and she's escaping the Thorn cult. I'm just going to call them the Thorn cult because I don't know what else you call them. So she escapes the Thorn cult. They sick Michael on her, but then he kills one of their own and then goes after Jamie. And then finally catches Jamie after she hides the baby. And then he kills Jamie. And then we get the new family in the movie. And then the stalker who lives next door, which is played by Paul Rudd, who you know from Ant-Man and the Avengers movies and other stuff. This was his first movie, so there you go. He's stalking the family who lives in Michael Myers' old house. He is obsessed with Michael Myers. He's got a website. He calls into radio shows and all this weird stuff. And then, so he goes looking for Jamie because he heard her on a radio program, so he thinks he's going to find her. He finds out she's dead, but he finds her baby, so then he takes the baby. And then the cult shows up, and basically the other girl in the movie, and I don't know I don't know if she's related to Michael, or if she's related to Jamie, or if she's just a product of the Cult of Thorn. I don't know. I don't think they explain it. They kind of hint at it, but I don't remember if they explain it. But she's basically got a kid, and that kid is seeing images, the same images Michael saw, so presumably he's going to turn into the next Michael. And then Michael shows up, and the Cult of Thorn shows up, and then they take the baby and the teenager and the mom. They go to the hospital, and then the Dr. Loomis and the stalker dude shows up at the hospital, and then Michael shows up and kills all of the Cult of Thorn, and then they escape, and the movie ends. And it literally just ends with them escaping. Michael's still alive. Loomis is still alive. We have no closure. It's literally just get in the car and run for your fucking lives. No closure. No wrap up. Just set up for the next sequel that never happens, because this was the end of the first timeline. So these movies have a convoluted timeline structure, which I'm not going to be able to unpack because I just got done watching them and it didn't make a sense to me. So I'm not going to be able to make sense out of it because I fucking can't explain it. But this ends the first timeline and ends the Thorn trilogy. I'm still going to recommend this as a buy. And this is based on two things. One, it does wrap up the first timeline, so it's worth owning for that purpose alone. And two, nostalgia. This is my entry to the series, and so I have an affinity for it, and I think other people should give it a fair shake. I do recommend you watch the producer's cut, even though it's equally convoluted. It's a little better. But anyways, this is definitely a buy. It's got some good kills, and it makes Michael Myers make sense, because previously he just didn't make sense, and now all of a sudden he actually makes sense. So it's worth it as far as I'm concerned.